Hello. So on this awesome Wednesday, I am going to talk about case studies. I've had a few people ask me about case studies and about how to find case studies and how to use case studies in the curriculum that when you're teaching a class, specifically, of course, AWS, an AWS focused class or a cloud computing class or one of the specific services within AWS, something along those realms. I find it really beneficial to review case studies because it's one thing to know in theory how something's going to work and be able to maneuver it and use the console to make something, create something, build something, whatever the correct verb is for what you're doing. But it's another thing to kind of see it in person and how businesses and organizations are using it. So AWS has a great resource here. It's available for free, whether you don't need an AWS Educate account, you don't need an AWS account, you just need a browser and internet access. And you can go to find these case studies. So the way I do it is I Google AWS case studies. And I go to the first one here. And you can see where it takes me. So what's nice about case studies, if you scroll down a little bit, it's like past the fold on the webpage, you can find a case story based on just whatever kind of parameters you're looking for. So for example, one of the first weeks, I think it was the first week that we had a class here, we were talking about Kinesis. It's a database class that we're teaching here at Hawken College, and we're talking about Kinesis. So what I can do is I can search, I think I can search in here. Yeah, Kinesis, which is one of the data services offered with AWS. And it gives me, it looks like 132 different options that I can choose to see how the variety of different organizations and businesses are using Kinesis. So let's see. So let's go, and it gives you the year, so that's nice to know as well. Let's go with HappyGo. I have no idea what HappyGo is. Looks like it's another language or another country. Okay. HappyGo makes members happier with improved loyalty platform on AWS. So it talks about by migrating to AWS, HappyGo has improved the rating of its mobile app from 1 to 4.3 or out of 5 stars and delivers in-app response time of 500 milliseconds. HappyGo is Taiwan. Okay, there's another country, like I said. Taiwan's leading bonus point member platform offering customers rewards for purchases with partner merchants. Company uses Amazon Elasticache to maintain low latency, Kinesis, which was what we searched for, data firehose, and to transform the data for streaming, and AWS Lambda for serverless provisioning. So what I usually do, and then it goes into more details on what HappyGo is and stuff. And some of these case studies are going to be longer, and some are going to be shorter. And what I usually have my students do is to provide on some of the assignments or discussion questions. Read in a case study that I assign them and, list the takeaway and respond to others. It's typical discussion, online platform stuff. And, it's what I find encouraging is the fact that it's actually what their responses are actually meaningful. Like they're not, some random thing. Like that's very, shows they didn't put that much thought or depth or understanding of it. It actually, for the majority of them, if not all of them, are actually giving me responses that show that they had like an interest. They were somewhat, at least somewhat interested in the concept of what AWS can do for the individual businesses that they're studying that week. So that's one way that we use case study. Like I said, I make an assignment, and that's a discussion thing that they got to do. Another way that sometimes I use case studies are like for in-class assignments. The class I'm teaching right now is 100% online, but we do meet once a week. And so for, the in-classroom activity, we spend about 5-10 minutes. They have to find a case study addressing either a certain kind of service that's being used, or just like if they have anything they have an interest in. It varies on how I make the assignment. And they have to do, I want to say it's a lightning talk because it's so short, and it gives them better practice on speaking and finding the problem and finding the solution and sharing that solution with people and explaining it. And those are skills as well. So what they have to do as the in-class assignment is they have to find a case study. They have to then do a lightning talk, again, which is only a couple minutes long. They have to share whatever their case study was. They have to talk about the problem that the company had. And then they have to talk about the solutions that AWS solutions that this company utilized and what the results were. So a lot of them, most of them have found that the company had a problem, and they use AWS service, and this was the result from it. But I had one particular student who came across a case study, because we only give them like 5 or 10 minutes to read up on it. They came up on one case study, and they didn't exactly present a problem. What they did was they talk about how they were using, I think it was Athena was the focus for that week. They were using S3, and then how it went to Athena, but the company didn't actually present a problem in their case study spiel here. And I thought that was interesting. It's a good point as well. Sometimes there's not really necessarily a problem that they have in mind to combat to utilize AWS services. Sometimes they're already using one service, and this example was S3. And because S3 works as well as it does with Athena, it was just like the natural correlation as opposed to doing some other vendor. And so that's a good concept as well. It's a good, learning lesson of sometimes, you're, utilizing a particular AWS service is not just because it's combating problems, which, a lot of times it does. Sometimes it's just because you're already using one service. It just makes sense to keep staying in that same wheelhouse and use the services that are made to work together, as opposed to something that might not jive too well. So case studies, I'm learning, in addition to, of course, AWS Educate content and all the resources that we have in there, is a good way to kind of solidify what they're learning on the particular subject matter and the services, and helps them see it actually apply and in action, so to speak. And so those are case studies. Those are how you can find a variety of different case studies. We'll head back to the beginning. So here, as you can see, I looked up Kinesis. You can filter by the location. You can filter by industry, use case, and the services used. So let's see. Oh, Redshift. That's kind of one of the things that we were talking about last week in last week's assignment. So we can click on Redshift, and it gives me, and Choice Hotels was one of the case studies that they had to do this discussion. So we talk about that. So there's a variety of different ways that you can utilize case studies, and it's really interesting just to see how different companies are using different AWS services for different reasons. And let's see. And it helps, like I said earlier, it makes those things connect together. It's like, oh. So hopefully this helps answer the questions that I've had in regards to case studies and AWS. And if you have any other questions, please let me know. Thank you.